1,150 tons of bombs destroy 1,500-year-old monastery. Germans survive and fight harder. What hell was this? History warriors. One mountain broke World War II's toughest. NZ elites. Gurkha blades. Maori war cries. Scandalous bombing. Fail. Secret raids. Enemies to brothers. Heroism or waste. Monte Cassino's Demon Knight. Twists that'll shock you. Who conquered hell without return? Watch now, truth awaits. February 1944, Italy. Before the Allied forces looms the ancient Monte Cassino monastery, a fortress turned by the Nazis into an impregnable stronghold. This place would enter history as one of the bloodiest sectors of World War II, a place where courage clashes with despair, a place soldiers would call hell without return. But what made this place truly terrifying? Today we tell the story of New Zealand's special units who found themselves at the forefront of one of humanity's most brutal battles, a story of courage without limits, of brotherhood forged in fire, of men who faced the impossible and did not retreat. Welcome to the chronicle of the Battle of Monte Cassino. But this was just the beginning of the nightmare. Winter 1944 brought Allied forces in Italy not only cold and mud, it brought realization that the road to Rome, capital of fascist Italy, passed through one of the planet's most fortified places. Germans called it Winterstellen, winter position. This was not just a defensive line. It was an engineering marvel of the Nazi war machine, stretching 160 kilometers from Tyrrhenian to Adriatic Sea. Concrete fortifications, minefields, pillboxes, anti-tank ditches, barbed wire, everything turned every meter of Italian soil into a deadly trap. But even this line had one impenetrable spot. But even on this line stood one place of particular impregnability. Monte Cassino, height 516 meters above sea level. At its summit, the ancient Benedictine monastery founded by Saint Benedict in 529 AD, 14 centuries of history. Treasure trove of European culture. And now, the Third Reich's key defensive point. The Germans had perfect view of everything. From here, German observers controlled the entire Liri Valley, the Allies' only route to Rome. Every movement, every tank, every soldier, in plain view. German artillery could strike any target with surgical precision within kilometers. Into this hell entered soldiers of the 2nd New Zealand Division under Lieutenant General Bernard Freyberg. These men had passed through North Africa's fires, fought in Greece, Crete, Libya, and Egypt deserts, tempered against Rommel's Afrika Korps. But Cassino was something else entirely. New Zealanders arrived in Italy with reputation as elite assault troops, accompanied by Indian 4th Division units including legendary Gurkhas, Nepalese warriors whose bravery was known across British Empire. Together they formed the striking force Allied Command, assigned decisive role in breaking Gustav Line. General Freyberg, World War I veteran and Victoria Cross holder, British Commonwealth's highest military award, understood task's scale. He'd seen maps, studied aerial photos, knew he sent his men into meat grinder. But orders are orders. February 15th, 1944. Day before second massive Monte Cassino assault, Allied command made one of war's most controversial decisions. Ancient monastery must be destroyed. Intelligence reported possible, later revealed not entirely accurate. Germans honored unspoken truce, kept troops around monastery but not inside. But that moment, under pressure of previous failed attacks, decision made. 9:28 a.m. bombers appeared over Monte Cassino. 229 aircraft. B-17 Flying Fortresses, B-25 Mitchells, B-26 Marauders, dropped 1,150 tons high explosive and incendiary bombs on one of Europe's oldest Christian monasteries. Earth shook, centuries-old walls collapsed, flames shot skyward. When smoke cleared, majestic architectural monument replaced by rubble pile. But these ruins proved even more convenient for defense than intact building. New Zealand troops began offensive on Cassino Town at mountain foot, not quick storming. Slow, exhausting house-to-house, ruin-to-ruin advance. German paratroopers, Wehrmacht elite, turned every building into fortress. 1st Parachute Division, under General Richard Heydrich, not just well-trained unit, fanatics ready to die on positions. Captain John MacDonald, New Zealand Infantry Company commander, later recalled, "We advanced meter by meter. Every window could hide sniper, every door could be mined. Lost men every step, Germans didn't retreat, simply died in place, fought to last cartridge. Key resistance points in town, Continental Hotel and railway station. These massive stone buildings turned by Germans into real bunkers. Continental Hotel towered over city centre. From upper floors, German observers coordinated artillery fire across sector. Took New Zealanders days to capture one building. Sergeant Te Moananui Akia Angarimu, Maori descent, led one of boldest attacks on German positions. Platoon penetrated deep enemy territory, captured strategic point. When Germans counterattacked, Ngarimu personally held position using Thompson submachine gun and grenades, destroying over 20 enemy soldiers. Died covering men's withdrawal. Posthumously awarded Victoria by February's end clear. No quick breakthrough. Allied troops bogged down in town. Germans controlled heights. Every attack choked on blood. New Zealand losses grew daily. Medical stations overflowed. Wounded evacuated under constant artillery fire. Many didn't reach hospital. One military doctor recorded in diary, "Saw North Africa horrors, but this surpasses everything. Shell fragment wounds, crushed limbs, napalm burns. Work round clock, but too many. Too many good guys we can't save." After February offensive failure, Allied command returned to strategy development. New plan codenamed Dickens, after English writer describing Victorian suffering. Name proved prophetic. Operation scheduled March 15th. General Freyberg insisted on massive bombardment. This time target not monastery, but casino town itself. Turn it into lunar landscape, promised officers. Morning, March 15th, armada of 500 bombers and fighter bombers appeared over casino. What followed unprecedented in scale. 3.5 hours, 1,250 tons bombs dropped on city area under 1 square kilometer, more than any similar-sized object throughout war. Buildings turned dust, streets disappeared under rubble. Entire city shrouded in smoke and dust cloud visible 20 kilometers away. Then artillery preparation. 746 guns, field howitzers to heavy naval guns, opened fire. 3 hours fired 195,969 shells. Command confident. After this nothing living survived in city. They were wrong. When New Zealand infantry advanced, discovered unexpected. Bombardment created even more cover for German infantry. Debris mount, tanks couldn't pass, unit coordination disrupted. But the Germans weren't finished yet. Germans alive. From basements, rubble, prepared bunkers emerged paratroopers, shell-shocked, bloodied but combat-ready. Continued fighting. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Gentry, commanding New Zealand Infantry Battalion, described, advanced through labyrinth. No front, no clear lines. Germans everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Shots rang, couldn't call artillery, didn't know exactly where friendlies or enemies. What happened next? Turned victory into nightmare. Hotel key point again. New Zealanders attacked repeatedly. Germans repelled every assault. Captain Thomas Clark's company ordered take building any cost. Penetrated first floor through tank shell breached wall. Room-to-room carnage began. Fight at arm's length. Submachine guns, pistols, grenades, bayonets, rifle butts, everything used. Stairs became meat grinder. Each floor taken fighting. They thought they had won, but night brought horror. First day evening, Clark's company held first 3 floors. Germans controlled upper. Between them, neutral strip of bodies and rubble. Night Germans counterattacked. Broke through top to bottom using grenades and flamethrowers. New Zealanders retreated to first floor, heavy losses. Of 120 company men, 47 remained. But another battle was raging nearby. Parallel unfolded railway station battle. Massive stone building, thick walls and basements. Germans turned into underground fortress. Maori battalion task capture station. These warriors, Polynesian seafarers' descendants, known for battle fury and traditional war cry, kamate, before assault. Their war cry froze German blood, attacked under night cover. Traditional Maori haka, war dance, rang before storm, freezing blood even hardened German paratroopers. Fight brutal and short. Maoris burst building using grenades and bayonets. Took no prisoners. Germans didn't surrender. Dawn illuminated station ruins. New Zealand flag flew over rubble. Victory or deadly trap. But holding the position was impossible. German artillery from the heights began methodically destroying the building with everyone inside. By noon, the Maoris were forced to retreat. While city bled, mountains called for blood. While street fighting raged in the town, Indian and New Zealand troops tried to bypass fortifications, attacking heights around the monastery. One key position was Castle Hangman, a medieval fortress at 193-meter height, located just below the monastery itself. If the castle could be captured, they could climb to the monastery and bypass German defense in the town. Gurkhas answered the call. Gurkhas from the 4th Indian Division were tasked with storming the height. These Nepalese warriors were legends. Their battle spirit and mastery of the kukri, traditional curved knife, inspired awe even in enemies. What happened that night shocked even Germans. Attack began night of March 17th. Gurkhas climbed steep slope, under hail of machine gun and mortar fire. Path so narrow, soldiers went single file. One accurate shot could halt entire column. Germans dropped grenades on them. Boulders rolled down, sweeping people off slope. But Gurkhas kept climbing. Subedar Major, Sergeant Major Lal Bahadur Thapa, led vanguard. When platoon, pinned by heavy fire, unable advance or retreat, Thapa rose and single-handedly attacked German machine gun crew. His kukri flashed in moonlight. Seconds later, machine guns silenced. Germans called it Night of Demons. Signal to attack. Gurkhas burst into German positions. What followed, called by German survivors, Night of Demons. Darkness of slope erupted in close-quarters combat. Kukri against bayonets and shovels. Grenades exploded so close, killed both sides. Shouts in German, Nepali, English mixed with explosion roars. Gurkhas were night-fighting masters. Moved silently, struck fast and precise. German paratroopers brave but faced opponent fighting with near-mystical fanaticism. Dawn brought victory, but at what cost? By dawn, Castle Hangman in Gurkha hands. Of 200 German defenders, fewer than 30 survived, all wounded. Gurkhas lost 87 killed and wounded. But this triumph wouldn't last, but victory temporary. German command understood. Losing height 193 threatened entire Monte Cassino defense. General Heydrich ordered retake position at any cost. Next 3 days, full might of German artillery rained on Castle Hangman. Shells fell every few seconds. Ancient castle walls crumbled. Gurkhas hid in basements and caves, emerging only to repel attacks. German paratroopers counterattacked in waves. First wave choked on blood. Second reached walls. Third broke inside. Fight turned chaos. In smoke and dust, no one distinguished friend from foe. Soldiers fought in groups, side by side with enemies, seeing nothing beyond arm's reach. Lieutenant Colonel John Neville, British officer commanding Gurkhas, wounded by fragment first day holding castle, refused evacuation, continued commanding defense from stretcher in basement. As long as I'm alive, we hold this position, he told men. Died third day from direct shell hit. Posthumously awarded Victoria Cross. By March 19th clear, holding castle impossible. Gurkhas practically surrounded. Reinforcements couldn't break through German fire, ammunition running out, more wounded than healthy. Command ordered evacuation. Night under fog cover, surviving Gurkhas began descending height, carried wounded on backs. Every step could be last slope raked by German machine guns. Of 600 Gurkhas assaulting height 193, 240 returned. While battles boiled in town and heights, New Zealand engineers and tank units sought alternative advance routes. One supposed to be Rapido River crossing at mountain foot. Rapido, small river, easily fordable peacetime, but war turned it into watery death. Germans blew dams upstream, flooding floodplain. What was banks mined? Every meter coastal zone raked by German water icy. March, snow still lay in mountains. New Zealand sappers tasked build pontoon bridges under darkness cover, borderline suicide work. Engineering companies moved in darkness, dragging heavy pontoons. Germans fired flares, turning night to day. Flare light, machine gunners found targets. Men fell into icy water, didn't rise. Corporal James Ward, sapper squad commander, described, worked knee-deep, waist-deep, sometimes neck-deep in water. Cold such fingers disobeyed. Heard bullets hitting water nearby. Saw comrades disappear underwater. Couldn't stop. Knew, if don't build bridge, tanks won't pass. If tanks don't pass, infantry dies. Morning 3 pontoon bridges built, all 3 immediately destroyed by German artillery. Some tanks crossed. New Zealand Shermans entered flooded plain, hoping find solid ground, support infantry fire. Found death. Swampy soil couldn't hold 30-ton machines. Tanks bogged, stuck, became stationary targets. German anti-tank guns methodically shot them one by one. Crews tried evacuate, but escape bogged tank under fire nearly impossible. Many burned alive when hits ignited fuel and ammunition. Lieutenant Peter MacDonald, tank platoon commander, one of few survivors. Tank knocked out but didn't burn. Crew escaped bottom hatch, crawled through swamp to lines hours. Of 5 crew, only he reached friendly lines. Heard them drowning in mud behind me, recalled years later. Couldn't help, couldn't even look back. Just crawled forward and prayed. Late March offensive choked. Third Casino battle ended like previous failure. Allies held small bridgehead in town itself, but Germans controlled heights and most ruins. Front stabilized. New Zealand and German positions, dozens meters apart, sometimes same building. Strange lull set in. Casino became ghost town. Not one intact building remained. Streets buried under rubble. Bodies lay unburied in neutral zone. Rats, so brazen, attacked wounded. Soldiers both sides. Day, any movement deadly. Snipers both sides didn't sleep. Activity began nightfall. Night delivered supplies, evacuated wounded, repaired fortifications. Patrols probed German positions. Snipers changed locations. Couriers ran between posts. Every night, somewhere in ruins, short, fierce clashes flared. Someone penetrated too deep enemy territory. Nerves failed, someone opened fire. Private Thomas Clark from New Zealand Infantry wrote diary, Day 47 in hell. Number longer count days. Count if live to next morning. Germans 30 meters away. Hear them talking, sometimes sing old German songs. We sing too. Maoris teach their songs, night kill each other. They sing. Madness. Moments humanity showed even in this hell. Several times, unofficial truces declared evacuating wounded from neutral zone. Soldiers both sides emerged cover, raising white flags. German medics and New Zealand orderlies worked side by side, pulling wounded from rubble. Officers exchanged cigarettes, short conversations. We enemies but not beasts, said German Captain Medic to New Zealand doctor during one truce. Tomorrow shoot each other again. Today save who we can. These moments lasted hour, maybe 2. White flags lowered, soldiers returned positions. War continued. April brought not only spring to Italy, it brought realization that Monte Cassino broke people not only physically, but morally. New Zealand military psychiatrists faced an epidemic of combat shock, what World War I called shell shock, later named post-traumatic stress disorder. Soldiers unscathed through North Africa lost their minds after a week in Cassino. Men uncontrollably trembled at artillery sounds. Some stopped sleeping. Any attempt to close eyes triggered nightmares so intense they preferred wakefulness to exhaustion. Major Edward Simmons, field psychiatrist, noted, saw people turned into vegetables in 3 days. Sturdy guys, New Zealand farmers, athletes seeming indestructible. They simply broke. Not from wounds, not fear of death, from constant, unending stress. Inability to sleep, inability to relax even second. Knowledge shell could hit any moment. Drove them mad. Censored letters, home military post censors, read thousands of letters. Required to black out anything revealing plans or undermining morale. Many passed unchanged. Soldiers wrote only trifles, avoiding truth. Dear Mum, everything fine here. Weather improving. Got your sock package yesterday. Very timely. Say hi to sister. Not word about sitting in shell crater. Best friend killed 3 hours ago. No sleep 4 days. Some more frank. Letter by Corporal William Forbes day before death passed. Censorship only because arrived marked. Open if sender deceased. Dad, if reading this, I'm gone. Wanted you know truth. What's happening here not war. Slaughter. Die for every meter stone. Don't regret coming. Had to be done. But please, if new war starts, don't let little brother repeat my part. You too. German psychological warfare. Germans waged psychological war with particular cynicism. Through loudspeakers broadcast English messages to New Zealand positions. New Zealand soldiers, why die for foreign land? While you bleed in Italy, American soldiers rest with your women home. Surrender. War over for you. Hot food, clean bed, medical aid wait. Sometimes played jazz, popular music. Announcer declared that was Private Jones's favorite song from 23rd Battalion. Shame won't hear again. Died day before yesterday railway station. Won't be next. Accuracy terrifying. German intelligence excellent. New unit numbers, commanders' names, even soldiers' nicknames. New Zealand response. New Zealand command answered own propaganda. German language leaflets dropped over German positions. Paratroopers. Your Führer promised victory in year. 5 years passed. Where victory? Cities burn under bombs. Families suffer. War lost. Surrender while can. But 1st Division German paratroopers fanatics preferred death to captivity. Propaganda no effect. Polish 2 Corps arrives April. New formation arrived battlefield. Polish the 2nd Corps under General Władysław Anders. Special soldiers, special motivation. Many former POWs released Soviet camps after USSR entered war against Germany. Passed through Stalin prison hells. Homeland occupied. Families destroyed or scattered no home returned to. Only hatred, Nazis, desperate revenge. General Anders. Lost eye Soviet captivity, gathered officers. Gentlemen given honor, liberate Monte Cassino. No English, Americans, New Zealanders, Indians tried before us. All failed. But we have what they didn't. No choice. Must win, no other way. Fight not land, fight Poland honor. Fallen memory. People future. New Zealanders exhausted. New Zealanders exhausted. 2 months continuous fighting turned division shadow itself. Relief order came, many cried. Not joy, relief mixed guilt. Didn't take it, New Zealand sergeant told Polish officer position handover. 2 months, couldn't take damned mountain. Forgive us. Polish officer hugged. Brother, done more than humanly possible. Now our turn. Handover took days. Poles occupied trenches, dugouts, New Zealanders left, saw bloodstones. Found dead personal items, photos, letters, medallions. 1 Polish soldier found New Zealander diary, killed week ago. Last entry, tomorrow attack again. Don't think return. Someone finds this, tell mother thought her end. Pole buried diary stones vowed take mountain for you, brother. Operation Diadem, final plan Allied command, developed new comprehensive Gustav Line breakthrough plan. Operation Diadem, crown. Planned simultaneous front-wide advance. French troops attack Orunsi Mountains right flank. British, Canadians, Americans renew West Coast pressure. Poles' heaviest task, take Monte Cassino. May 11th, 11 p.m. artillery preparation began. 1. Skylit flashes. Earth shook. Destruction symphony. Polish night assault. 1 a.m. Polish infantry attacked. Advanced waves, aiming capture monastery heights. Cut German garrison supply. Germans ready. Despite artillery prep, fortifications held. Machine guns opened. Minefields exploded under feet. Night sky light show, tracer bullets, flares. Poles, horrific loss. Entire companies disappeared minutes, continued advancing. Captain Andrei Kowalski recalled, saw men falling, one by one. Shouted, take cover, find shelter. Kept going forward. Not bravery, stubbornness. Knew must go through, else all vain. All sacrifices, pain, in vain. Dawn first attack choked. Poles retreated carrying wounded. Losses catastrophic, 800 plus men. 1 night. Operation success, but Diadem worked. French broke German right flank defense. British Canadians steadily advanced Leary Valley. German line cracked. General Heydrich understood. Paratroopers could encircle. Supply harder. Losses irreplaceable. May 16th received high command with German troops evacuated Monte Cassino darkness cover, retreated methodically, covering every line, mining slow down pursuit, not panicked flight, organized professional army retreat. Morning May 18th, Polish patrols discovered German fire ceased, cautiously advancing found abandoned positions, Germans gone. 10:20 a.m. 12th Podolian Lancers Regiment soldiers reached monastery ruins, raised Polish flag dome rubble. Radio Polish message, monastery captured. Eagle summit, Eagle Poland symbol, finally flew over Monte Cassino. News reached Polish positions, soldiers cried. Hugged each other. Sang Polish anthem ruins, avenged. Proved Poland alive. Joy shadowed cost. Weak fighting Polish 2 Corps lost 4,190 men, 860 killed, rest wounded. 4 months Cassino battle Allied losses exceeded 55,000. Germans lost approximately 20,000, including killed, wounded, missing. Monte Cassino slopes. Below monastery, Polish military cemetery created. 1,552 white crosses mark Polish soldiers' graves fallen battle. Over cemetery rises monument Polish inscription, "We Polish soldiers for freedom. Ours, yours, gave soul God. Body Italian soil, heart Poland." General Anders buried here. Willed burial among soldiers, not homeland behind Iron Curtain post-war. Every May 18th, memorial ceremony. Veterans arrive, fewer yearly. Children, grandchildren come. Nearby town Italians come. Always sounds Red Poppies Monte Cassino, Polish soldiers' unofficial anthem. Red Poppies Monte Cassino drank Polish blood instead dew. Auckland, New Zealand, Italy Fallen Memorial. Marble slabs engrave 2,162 New Zealand soldiers' names killed. Italian Campaign, most fell under Monte Cassino. Annually, April 25th, Anzac, New Zealanders gather dawn services nationwide. Remember not only Gallipoli, WWY, remember Casino. Veteran Thomas Clark survived meat grinder, yearly until 2003 death came memorial, brought poppies, fallen memory symbol. No hero told journalists. Heroes stayed there, those ruins, just lucky survive. Carry them daily. See faces, hear voices. Never left. Monte Cassino Monastery ruins until 1950s. Post-war Italy devastated. No restoration funds. Benedictine lived rubble, began clearing debris manually. Gradually, stone by stone, monastery rebuilt. Significant help from veterans, all-eyed, German. Money collected worldwide. Former enemies worked side by side, restoring what destroyed. 1956 monastery solemnly reopened. Pope Pius XII personally consecrated restored basilica. Today Monte Cassino. Active monastery, pilgrimage site. Also museum, memorial, basement exhibitions dedicated display photos, documents, soldiers' personal items, both sides. But what message greets every visitor? At the monastery entrance there is a memorial plaque in several languages. Traveler, stop. Here, on these hills, in 1944, people of many nations shed blood in the name of freedom. Remember their sacrifice, remember war's horror, and remember, peace is most precious we have. What lessons did this bloodbath teach the world? Battle of Monte Cassino became study subject in military academies worldwide. Showed several important lessons. Bombing does not guarantee success. Massive bombardments, instead easing advance, sometimes hindered it. Ruins created better shelters for defenders than intact buildings. Mountain warfare requires special training. Ordinary infantry tactics didn't work in mountains. Required specially trained mountain troops, mountaineering gear, adapted logistics. Coordination importance first. 3 offensives failed, largely due to lack of coordination between Allied forces. Only in diadem operation, when all forces acted synchronously, breakthrough achieved. Moral factor German paratroopers, despite numerical minority and supply problems, held 4 months thanks to highest morale and professionalism. Human cost, but main Monte Cassino lesson. This war cost lesson, 55,000 Allied losses, 20,000 German, and unknown number Italian civilians died in battles or from hunger and diseases. For what? The answer will shock you. For what? To capture 1 mountain and 1 monastery. To advance few kilometers along road to Rome. From military point of view, victory necessary. Gustav Line, Rome had to be liberated before Normandy landing to draw German forces. But from human point of view, price monstrous. Every cross on military cemeteries, someone's broken life. Mother lost son. Wife became widow. Children grew without father. Friends never saw each other again. Decades after war, German and Allied veterans met on Monte Cassino slopes. First meetings, tense, too much pain, too much memory. But time heals. Former enemies became friends. One meeting changed everything forever. In 1994, 50th battle anniversary, special ceremony held. German veteran Franz Schmidt and New Zealander John MacDonald stood side by side at Polish cemetery. Schmidt said, "We were enemies. I possibly killed your friends, you possibly killed mine, but both soldiers. Both did what considered duty. Forgive me if can." MacDonald hugged him. Nothing forgive each other. We pawns in game we didn't start. Not soldiers guilty, those who start wars guilty. Both cried. Hundreds veterans around cried too. But the battle had darker secrets. Monte Cassino history not limited to large offensives. Behind scenes unfolded secret operations little known even today. New Zealand special units conducted raids deep German rear. Tasks included reconnaissance of German fortifications, kidnapping officers for interrogation, sabotage of supply lines, enemy disinformation. One raid showed their true bravery, these operations extremely dangerous. Groups of 4, 6 men penetrated front line at night, moved through mountains to targets, completed task and returned, if lucky. Captain James "Jim" Hancock commanded one such unit. Night hunters, as called among themselves. Night March 7th Group received task, penetrate German command post in old farm building, 3 kilometers behind front line and capture maps and documents. What happened next reads like thriller. 6 fighters set out midnight, moved pre-scouted route, bypassing known minefields and machine gun points. Every noise could betray presence. Every shadow could hide German patrol. 4 hours reached farm, 2 German sentries silently neutralized knives. Group burst. What followed? Short and brutal. German officers slept. Didn't expect attack on rear. 3 minutes operation complete. Documents captured. 1 German major taken prisoner. On return way group stumbled. German patrol. Gunfight in Private McLean severely wounded. Comrades carried him. Fire. Dawn returned own positions. Abscess 1 wounded. Rest intact. Captured documents contained valuable information on German defense. His final words broke everyone's heart. McLean died 2 days later from wounds. Last words, did we complete task? Yes, Hancock replied. We did. Many of these operations remain classified decades. Special unit fighters signed non-disclosure. Couldn't tell actions even families. Lieutenant Peter Thompson, several raids participant recalled, we, ghosts, officially didn't exist. When someone died operation, documents wrote, died lying duty. Without details. Families told died battle, but not where how. Only 40 years after war could tell son what really did, before thought ordinary infantryman. These people fought shadows. No medals received, to avoid attention secret operations, names not carved monuments, but victory contribution invaluable. War history, not only men's history. At Monte Cassino served hundreds nurses daily risked lives saving wounded. New Zealand Mercy Sister Mary Lamson worked field hospital few kilometers front line. Hospital in partially destroyed school. No heating, water shortage. Medications running out. But scariest, endless wounded stream. After each attack, dozens, sometimes hundreds wounded arrived. Medical staff worked round clock. Mary described in letters home, sent only after war. Saw things 23-year-old girls shouldn't know. Young people, almost boys. Severed limbs, screaming pain, begging death. To all can but too few are. Yesterday boy died. 19 years old. Asked hold hand. Held until left. Called mom. Always call mom. End. After shift locked storeroom cried. Then washed face returned. Ahead night shift. With Polish 2 Corps arrived Polish nurses. Many Soviet camp survivors lost everything. Families, homes, health, but didn't lose desire help. Sister Anna Kowalska, 28 years, worked forward medical point few hundred meters front line. When offensive began, she colleagues went battlefield under fire, pulling wounded. May 16th. During Polish monastery attack, medical point hit artillery shell. Shell destroyed half building. 3 medics died instantly. Anna wounded fragment shoulder, but continued working. Had 40 wounded inside, recalled later. Couldn't leave them. Pain unbearable, but fear for them stronger. Other sister bandaged, stopped bleeding, gave morphine. Evacuation came only 3 hours. 3 hours half-destroyed building under shelling. Anna Kowalska received Military Cross Virtuti Militari, highest Polish military award, for heroism. 1 few women honored. Women other roles too. Signal women maintained communication between units, often under fire, stringing cables through dangerous sections. Several women served intelligence. Italian partisans speaking local dialect penetrated occupied towns gathering information German positions. Maria Rossi, 19-year-old girl neighboring village, regularly crossed front line pretending peasant woman, carried food German soldiers, struck conversations, memorized everything heard, once learned location German artillery depot, information past allies. Depot destroyed aviation, significantly weakened German defense one sector. Maria arrested Gestapo April 1944. Tortured, demanding reveal partisan contacts. Said nothing. Week later, executed. Post-war recognized Italian resistance heroine. Native village monument erected, young girl determined gaze. Monte Cassino battle brought suffering not only soldiers. Thousands Italian civilians caught battle epicenter. Cassino town pre-war, approximately 25,000 residents. Battle end, not one intact building remained. Residents evacuated or fled, themselves abandoning all property. Giuseppe Benedetti, 67-year-old bakery owner, recalled, "Born this house, father born here, grandfather built own hands. Germans came, said, leave, half-hour pack. Wife took family photos, box, took loaf bread, last baked own oven, left road-filled people. Old people, children, pregnant women, all carried bundles. Night heard explosion, knew our city dying. Returned 3 months later, house pile stones. Not all evacuated. Some families hid mountain caves, trying wait. Many died from hunger, cold, diseases, or accidentally under fire. De Luca family, father, mother, 3 children, hid cave mountainside. Food ran out 4th day. Mother descended valley night, trying find edible destroyed houses. March 12th. Didn't return. Body found week later. Stepped mine. Father left 3 children. Youngest 2 years. Eldest daughter 10. Ate roots, grass, anything. 2 weeks later, youngest child died exhaustion. Battle ended, mountains patrolled. Allied troops family found New Zealand soldiers. Father semi-delirium. Children barely moved. Evacuated hospital. All 3 survived, but psychological scars remained forever. Pre-monastery bombing many nearby villages. Residents found shelter walls. Monks accepted all seeking refuge. Basement cells sheltered over 800 civilians. February 15th bombing began. Monks tried lead people through only safe passage. Chaos complete. Bombs fell continuously. Buildings collapsed. People panicked. Abbot Gregorio Diamare personally led evacuation. This 79-year-old elder managed lead most refugees through various estimates. 200, 300, 30 civilians died. Monastery ruins. Bodies buried tons stone, many never found. Monte Cassino Abbey was not just a religious center. It was a treasure trove of European culture. Its library housed thousands of ancient manuscripts, some over 1,000 years old. Works of art, paintings, sculptures, frescoes were priceless. When it became clear that battle was inevitable, German officers, to their credit, organized the evacuation of cultural treasures. Major Julius Schlegel, an Austrian by birth and art expert, received permission from command for this operation. For several weeks, German soldiers and monks together packed manuscripts, paintings, and statues. Everything was loaded onto trucks and evacuated to the Vatican and other safe places. However, not everything could be saved. The architecture of the abbey itself, the frescoes on the walls, the ancient mosaics, all were destroyed by bombing. The decision to bomb the abbey remains one of the most controversial in World War II history. Were there Germans in the abbey? Did they use it as an observation post? German command insisted they respected the abbey's neutral status. General von Senger, commanding German forces in the sector, was a devout Catholic and opponent of destroying religious monuments. But the Allies saw it differently. From their perspective, the mere German presence on the mountain made the abbey a military target. Soldiers storming the heights saw Germans using the abbey walls for cover. The truth likely lay somewhere in between. The Germans indeed did not use the abbey itself for military purposes until after the bombing, but once it was destroyed, they immediately occupied the ruins and turned them into a fortress. The bombing not only failed to aid the offensive, it hindered it. After the war, the question arose, should the abbey be restored? Some suggested leaving the ruins as a monument to the senselessness of war. Others insisted on reconstruction. The second view prevailed. Restoration began in 1948 and lasted 8 years. Old photographs, blueprints, and descriptions were used. Every detail was recreated with maximum accuracy. Money was collected worldwide. Veterans from both sides sent donations. Governments provided grants. Ordinary people sent small amounts with notes. May it never happen again. Today's abbey is not the original, but it is an exact replica, restored with love and respect. And perhaps it is a more powerful symbol a symbol that even after the most terrible destruction, rebirth is possible. General Bernard Freyberg, commander of the New Zealand Corps, and General Richard Heydrich, commander of the German 1st Parachute Division, but their fates strangely intertwined. Both were World War I. Both received their country's highest military awards. Both were considered, and both led their men through the hell of Monte Cassino. After the war, Freyberg became Governor-General of New Zealand. He died in 1963, surrounded by honor and respect. Heydrich was captured by the Allies at war's end. He spent several years in a POW camp, then was released. He returned to Germany, worked as a modest clerk. He died in obscurity in 1963, the same year as Freyberg. In his memoirs, written shortly before his death, Heydrich wrote, "I did my duty as I understood it. My soldiers fought bravely, but I always wondered, was one mountain worth so many lives? German, New Zealand, Polish, Indian, what difference did it make? They were all someone's sons, and they all died for a patch of Italian soil that no one needs today." Hans Müller, 21, paratrooper from Bavaria; Frank O'Connor, 23, infantryman from Auckland. They met on March 18, 1944, in the ruined basement of the Continental Hotel. Hans defended the basement with his squad. Frank assaulted it with his platoon. In the darkness, smoke, and chaos, they came face to face. Both rifles were empty. Ammunition ran out. Hans grabbed a sapper shovel. Frank drew a knife. They fought with desperate fury, shovel against knife. Bavarian against Kiwi. Young men who in another world might have been friends tried to kill each other. A grenade thrown by someone in the darkness exploded nearby. The blast wave threw both back. When the smoke cleared, Hans's squad withdrew. Frank's platoon took the basement. Both survived the battle. Both returned home after the war, and both remembered those few seconds when they looked into each other's eyes for the rest of their lives. In 1989, on the 45th anniversary of the battle, they met. Organizers of the memorial ceremony tracked down veterans and invited them to Italy. Hans and Frank recognized each other, not by faces, 45 years had changed them, but by the scar on Hans's face from the knife, and the scar on... They stood silently for a long time, then embraced. "Forgive me," said Hans. "Forgive me," Frank replied. They became friends, corresponded until the end of their lives. Their families became friends. Hans's grandson married Frank's granddaughter. From hatred came love. From war, the Battle of Monte Cassino became a testing ground for various weapons. Germans used MG-42 machine gun with 1,200 rounds per minute, nicknamed Hitler's buzzsaw by Allies for its sound. Panzerfaust and Panzerschreck, anti-tank weapons effective against Shermans. 88 mm anti-aircraft guns converted to anti-tank, deadly against any armor. Mortars of all calibers, from light 50 mm to heavy 120 mm. Allies used M4 Sherman tanks, reliable but underprotected for urban combat. Churchill's British heavy tanks, slower but better armored. Flamethrowers, terrifying close combat weapons, especially effective in basements and fortifications. Bazookas, American anti-tank grenade launchers. Bren and Vickers machine guns. Artillery was the queen of Monte Cassino. Both sides used hundreds of guns. From light field howitzers to heavy railway cannons, Allied artillery support was overwhelming. Operation Dickens involved 746 guns, more than on any other front sector of equal length. But Germans masterfully used their fewer guns. Their observers on the heights could precisely direct fire. Every shell hit where needed. Artillery Captain John Smith recalled, "We fired thousands of shells. They fired hundreds. But their fire was more effective because they saw what they were shooting at. We fired by coordinates. They fired at targets. However, the effectiveness of airstrikes was... Bombings destroyed buildings, but German paratroopers survived in basements and bunkers. Moreover, the ruins created additional shelters. The medical service at Monte Cassino operated in extreme conditions. Wounded arrived in a continuous stream, especially during offensives. The path of the wounded was as follows. Medics at the front line, first aid under fire, battalion medical point, basic wound treatment, stopping bleeding, field hospital, surgery, stabilization, base hospital, long-term treatment. But at Monte Cassino, every stage was deadly dangerous. Evacuation of wounded was often carried out under fire. Ambulances were blown up on mines. Medics died while carrying wounds. The Battle of Monte Cassino gave impetus to several medical innovations. Penicillin, widely used for the first time on such a scale. The antibiotic saved thousands of lives by preventing wound infections. Blood transfusion, a system for collecting, storing, and transporting blood was refined. Mobile blood banks followed the troops. Field surgery. Surgeons learned to perform complex operations in primitive conditions, often in tents by the light of kerosene lamps under the sounds of artillery fire. Dr. Robert McNamara, military surgeon, recorded, "I performed 300 operations in 3 months. Amputations, shrapnel removals, reconstructions. Worked 18 hours a day. I lost count of how many lives I saved, but I perfectly remember every one I couldn't save. Their faces haunt me to this day." Psychological traumas, combat shock, shell shock, was officially recognized as a medical condition during World War I, but true understanding of the psychological traumas of war came only during and after World War II. Monte Cassino, with its intensity and duration, became an ideal laboratory for studying the impact of combat stress. Symptoms included uncontrollable trembling, nightmares, panic attacks from loud sounds, depression and suicidal thoughts, flashbacks, sudden returns to traumatic moments. Treatment was primitive. Some were sent to the rear for rest. Others were given sedatives. Many were simply returned to the front with the order, "Pull yourself together." Only decades later was it recognized that post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is not weakness but a serious medical condition requiring treatment. The Battle of Monte Cassino was widely covered by the world press. Journalists from the USA, UK, New Zealand, and other allied countries were at the front, sending reports and photographs. But truth often became a victim of propaganda. Military censors removed everything that could undermine morale. Photos of the dead, descriptions of failed offensives, criticism of command. The public at home read about heroic attacks and strategic successes. Reality, piles of corpses, exhausted soldiers, endless failures, remained off camera. Ernie Pyle, famous war correspondent, one of the few who wrote honestly. His columns from Italy painted a harsh picture. "This is not a heroic war from movies. This is mud, blood, fear, and death. Soldiers do not give fiery speeches. They just do their job, day after day, hoping to survive one more day." Pyle died in 1945 on Okinawa, killed by a Japanese sniper. He was buried among the soldiers he wrote about. Monte Cassino photographers left stunning visual testimonies of the battle. Robert Capa, famous photographer, arrived in Cassino in March 1944. His photographs became iconic. Exhausted soldiers among ruins, shell explosions, bodies under debris. One of his most famous photographs, a New Zealand soldier sitting on ruins with a cigarette and 1,000 yards of emptiness in his eyes. This photograph became a symbol of war-worn exhaustion. Capa wrote, "In Cassino, I understood that war is not moments of heroism. It is endless waiting interrupted by moments of horror. I tried to capture that waiting, that fatigue, that look of a man who had seen too much." Was victory at Monte Cassino strategically important? Historians still argue about this. Arguments for breaking the Gustav Line opened the road to Rome. German divisions pinned in Italy could not be transferred to France to counter the Normandy landings. Moral victory, proof that any German defense can be broken. Arguments against: Germans simply retreated to the next defensive line, Gothic Line, and continued fighting. Huge losses, 55,000 people, for relatively small advance. Rome was liberated on June 4, 1944, just 2 days before the Normandy landings, which overshadowed this event. Perhaps the truth is that Monte Cassino was important not so much strategically as symbolically. It was a test of will. Who would break first, attackers or defenders? The Allies proved they would not break, whatever the price had to be paid. Monte Cassino taught several important lessons. Technological superiority does not guarantee victory. The Allies had an overwhelming advantage in tanks, artillery, and aviation, but the Germans held out for 4 months thanks to professionalism and advantageous position. Value of terrain relief: whoever controls the heights controls the battlefield. This is ancient military wisdom confirmed in modern war. Importance of morale. Polish soldiers took Monte Cassino not because they were better armed or trained than the New Zealanders. They took it because for them, it was a matter of national honor. Cost of positional war. Attempts to take fortified positions by frontal assault always come expensive. Flanking maneuvers, as Operation Diadem showed, are more effective. Memory of generations. Today, more than 80 years later, Monte Cassino remains a place of memory. Every year, thousands of people climb the mountain. Veterans, only a few remain. Their descendants, historians, tourists. They come to pay tribute. They come to try to understand. They come to remember, because remembering is the only thing we can do. Remember their sacrifice. Remember their courage. Remember their humanity. And remember the main lesson: war is horror. Even a just war, even a necessary war, remains horror, and we must do everything possible to avoid it.